and gentlemen, back again with another video. Today we are going to be reacting to Tuah is back. Now, I did make a video talking about her coin. Fucking blew up, scammed a lot of people. A lot of people were pissed off. Apparently she was just on a podcast with FaZe Banks. She apologized. She talked about what happened. And clearly she tried to play like she wasn't aware of what was going on. So we're going to be reacting to this guy's video. He's going to talk about in depth, and there's going to be some drama stirring up. I mean, a lot of people on the internet, when they saw this interview on a podcast, were pretty shook but pretty pissed off still about her. So here we go.
Tuah Girl's back with a released podcast that was immediately disavowed by nearly everyone in it, who said, oh, we think there might have been insider trading involved.
The podcast was not supposed to go live. They f***ed it up every step of the way. They leaked the podcast, and then they f***ing posted it when it was supposed to be canceled. They f***ed it up twice, and the third was the launch itself.
Accusations flying. The episode got deleted, but it's still out there in the ether now with everyone nitpicking it apart. It's kind of a complete disaster for the Tuah team, and I found even more kind of wrong with it. I want to go through it because, yes, we do get mentioned in it, sort of as the boogeyman of crypto. Gonna get you if you rug a coin. You know, we might come after you.
CoffeeZilla got on there. Scary guy, let me tell you. Don't ever want to have a conversation with him.
Whoa. Don't ever want to have a conversation with me. Guys, I'm not intimidating.
Why go after him? This homie, all he does is spit facts of what the hell's going on. And Tuah Girl is, oh, he's a boogeyman, this and that. Dude, leave the homie alone. This homie is right on what is going on with these fucking coins that they scam their followers, get their money, pump it and dump it. Tuah she knows she fucked up. Don't be calling out this homie, man. This guy's innocent. What the hell's going on, man? Come on.
I don't know what's the problem here. I'm Joe Rogan inches tall, guys. It's not a striking figure here you're going to be scared of. If you meet me in person, you're not going to be like, you know. Relax. It's fine. Just get on the call. Let's have a conversation. I don't understand. And I also thought this was weird because Haley Welch's lawyer invited me on the show. In fact, like, really, really wanted me on their show and kept telling me how much Haley Welch liked me. Hence the t-shirt, you know. I used to like CoffeeZilla until he wouldn't come on my podcast. Then he is, you know, Voldemort, and we can't mention him. He's scary. Watch out. Don't talk about CoffeeZilla. He's intimidating. Here's the message I got from her lawyer. Haley would like to have you on as a guest on her podcast. You'd be the first guest since the failed crypto token launch and would get significant amount of views. Would be very friendly. This guy must not know me. She really likes you. Wow. I thought she didn't want to have a conversation with me. What gives? You know? What happened in only a few weeks? You know, I turned into, you know, the most scary man in the world. Now, I denied it. I said, look, I'm not a fan of what she did with Hawk. I have so many questions. You know, I need details. And then this guy says, I understand your position. I think the more details come to light, you'll understand she was a victim in this. She does care about her fans and others that have lost money tremendously and is cooperating with all authorities as well as Berwick Law Group. This has all been very traumatic for her. And basically, come on the show, please. You are the podcast's top priority for the first episode in 2025, guys. Me, the boogeyman, I was honored, to be honest. I was like, wow, I could be on the Tuah show. But, of course, I don't want to rehab someone's image who scammed people. And I really felt that questions had not been answered that should have been answered, such as, what was the agreement with Haley Welch and with Doc Hollywood? Very simple question, right? Basically, Haley Welch's position is, oh, I was a victim. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how much, I was barely going to make money.
I see, that's what I said. You know, she was like what he said, playing the victim, didn't know what the hell was going on. She had these people on her team. Come on. Wasting time here. You know what the fuck you were doing. Don't be stupid. You know, don't act stupid either. You know, I think you're always going to play the sad puppy in the corner. Oh, I wasn't aware of what was going on. Now, you knew it. Don't be fucking stupid.
125K plus like half of 10% of the tokens locked for a year, like this terrible deal. I got taken advantage of by these monsters. Like that was kind of their position. And all I wanted to know was, give me the contract. Show me that is true. And unfortunately, they were not able to give it. He's not in a position to share it, he says. I'm sorry. I said, can't verify anything you say then. Even what you told me about the 50% split, which I had heard Tuah Girl was going to make 50% of all the profits. And he kind of told me, no, that just applies to the tokens. So I was like, oh, well, maybe she's less of a stakeholder in this than I thought. I don't know. I even pinned a comment on it, which we'll talk about. I said, no idea if that's real. He says, come tape the podcast and I'll let you read it. I thought this was really skeevy. I thought that's weird. And not even like let me post it, but just read it. That's super weird. And in general, I find that in these situations, going on people's podcasts where I've reported on them, they are highly likely to do sketchy editing, to try to kind of control the situation so they look as good as possible, obviously. But I'm just not in I don't think that ever makes sense. Like for me, reporting on a scam to then like go on their podcast. It doesn't work. So I say no. No, thank you. I appreciate it. Now, spoiler alert, FaZe Banks didn't get to see it either. They didn't get to show it. But he also told me, look, we're going to tell everyone, do not talk about the show. It doesn't work if you talk about it because people are going to front run the coin. That's sort of how you guys got into this mess. This would be a disaster if you do that. So our only stipulation, these guys are very positive about crypto, much more like they kind of wanted to like rehab her image basically in the crypto space. So it's like a dream get for Haley Welch. Like this is amazing for her. And because FaZe Banks is basically going to like make it be like, oh, well, you didn't really mean to do that, right? But, he's going to ask some questions, whatever. Well, turns out that didn't go so well. Because when this podcast went live, I thought maybe things went well. Turns out it didn't. Because Banks released this. He said, I agreed to do her first podcast back. I had heavy stipulations of not letting the market get manipulated. I think that's basic. Her team finding a real solution regarding the money she made. Those were non-starters. These people leaked or insider traded the token. We noticed a random spike in volume on the coin the day we did the podcast, along with random messages asking if we did the podcast. So are you guys getting this? Somebody front ran the podcast to buy up all the coins because they knew, ooh, everyone's going to like it when they release this podcast. Let's front run the coin, which is just horrible. It's like, what do you want to re-victimize people? So they call off the pod. They're like, look, even the people most charitable towards...
Dude, no fucking way. This bitch is already in hot water. And the person who have access was trying to fucking pump and dump the fucking coin again. Because people heard that she was gonna, reappear on the internet, do a podcast. Jesus Christ. Talk about digging a hole deeper for yourself and fucking yourself over, pretty much.
Hawk Tuah say, we're out. We're done. But today, the episode got leaked. Apparently, there was an agreement. The podcast is never going out, but today it got leaked. I say that because some of the accompanying clips that got clipped seem to be good for Haley Welch.
Of course.
Like where she cries, about the rug pull. And people were saying maybe they kind of felt bad for her, right? From this leaked show. Here's Dexerto saying, Haley Welch broke down in tears while talking about the alleged rug pull of her coin.
I want to start by saying thank you to all my true fans and all the people that actually watch my stuff and they keep up with me. We're trying to sort out all the pieces and stuff to get all this figured out and make everything right. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
No, don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. Everything's gonna be good. We're gonna be good.
No, you're not. FaZe Banks canceled the episode. Are you guys getting that? He was like, I can't be a part of this. And they posted the clip. I can't believe it. That's unbelievable. Do y'all understand how insane that is?
How this idea got brought to me, it was supposed to be like what do they call it, a long-term coin. And the guy that ran the account, he was like, oh, we're going to change like the way everybody thinks of crypto. Crypto's going to be a good place. And I feel really bad for all the people that got affected by it. And it just didn't go the way I planned.
That's right, guys. Haley Welch is very sorry. She wants you to know she did not intend it to go that way. And that podcast clip, yes, it wasn't supposed to go out, but it just leaked. We don't know how. I approached, of course, the guys behind it, and they said it was an editor mistake. Oh, oops.
Nah, their team did it. Quit
Yes,
the cap.
the guys who interviewed us thought we may have insider traded the coin, but this guy says he vouches for the internal team, saying it was none of them. And Better, which is Jake Paul's team, I guess, no way they would ever do something like that, guys. Believe us, we will likely never know the info leak. The clip posting leak today was an accidental by Better's editor who had the episode in the YouTube queue waiting on approvals to release. Now, I don't know if this is true or false. I thought the weird thing about this video is that, like, everyone has had, anyone in media who's, like, had a sensitive episode recorded, you don't, like, do all the work if you think it might get canned. Like, obviously, right?
That's true.
These people not only edited the show, they put an ad in the leaked version of the episode, okay? So I'm not saying it didn't leak. I'm saying it's highly convenient.
This started. Game Time believes in me, y'all, and I believe in them.
Game Time's more loyal than most of y'all's mans out here.
Yeah, some of those guys just leave at the first opportunity they get. Not Game Time.
Not Game Time, guys. Game Time wouldn't leak an episode on you. So that's just the start of this atrocious episode. But now that it's out, I did take a look at it, and it made me think twice about something that I've been trying to get to the bottom of for a while, which is that contract. The contract I keep asking about. Who was supposed to make the money, right? That's always the question in a case like this. That's what the boogeyman wants to know. I got to know who to scare. I got to go know whose bed to get under to scare them at night. And I've been repeatedly asking this, and as I've said, basically their position is that she was just the small fry. She was the dupe. She was the person who got tricked into promoting this thing, right? This scam. But there was a certain thing she said that confused me, because I've heard two things. I've heard Haley Welch is getting half of everything, which is she's not the mark. She's like one of the main players. Or two, she's basically getting $125K and nothing else. Well, I heard this during the show, and it made me think, interesting.
Like half the money, it was supposed to go like into my charity. That's really why I agreed to do it.
Did you hear that?
Like half the money.
Half the money. Now, that's very interesting. That's very different from what we've been told, which is like, oh, it's just $125K. I don't know if the part about the charity is true, that it was all supposed to go to charity. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Again, that's why I keep asking about the contract. Now, I went to their lawyer, and I was like, look, I don't understand the secrecy with the contract. You could settle this so easily. This guy says, I'm on a phone call. Then he says something he's been saying the whole time. As I've said, the 50% of net proceeds, that's apparently what she's talking about, half the money, was from the mutually agreed upon allocation of tokens. 10% locked for 1 year with a 3-year vest thereafter. Memetic, which is Doc Hollywood, was to get the other 50% of the 10%. So not 50%, only like 5%, 1 year locked up. That's a terrible deal if you guys don't know that. And then he says her intention was to give her side to charity. We never got far enough down the road to make those questions. With regard to not sharing the contract, we can't, blah, 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 blah. We're in a legal situation. Now, this is where I finally had to play some of the cards that I had kept close to the chest up till now. See, I've been talking behind the scenes. I've been doing my little digging, right? And I got a very interesting insider document that a lot of people don't know about. This is from Doc Hollywood himself, which, if you remember, is like the key guy. Here he is saying, we'll do best to make it as simple as possible. The pre-sale raise is 50-50 Project Haley. Fees for market making and LP is split between us and Haley 50-50. Now, that's a very, very different story than I've been told up until this point. It wasn't 50-50 pre-sale. Like, that's millions of dollars pre-sale. The fees were millions of dollars, okay? Or like $1 million. And that's what I say. Story's very different. This guy says, I think you can safely distrust anything coming from Doc Hollywood's mouth. He's denying it. He's saying, that's not true. And then he says, look, I just can't have the contract published online, willing to let you see it with your own eyes, and saying that's why he was going to let me see it on the podcast. I said, well, these messages were prior to the failure of Hawk Tuah coin. So I don't understand why would Doc lie? Like, this isn't him saying it to cover himself later. It's him like talking in a chat with other insiders back then. Then he says this, the contract says she was paid $125K on signing, $200K within 30 days of launch. Interesting. We didn't know that. And 50% of the net proceeds of the project with mutually agreed upon tokenomics. The tokenomics we agreed to were for half of the 10% of the tokens. Now, I want you guys to realize that what he just said is backtracking on what he's been saying the entire time, which he's been saying the entire time, oh, it's just 50% of the 10%, 50% of the tiny amount of tokenomics we're going to need. No, what he's saying here, finally, he's giving us the real story. It's 50% of the net proceeds of the project, period. That is completely different from what they've told me. And so I say 50% of the net proceeds does not mean half of 10%. It means 50% of net proceeds, which is market making, pre-sale. This is like $4 million that they talked about. And I don't know if he's just trying to play dumb here, but he goes, we were told by Memetic that MM fees and pre-sale funds were going to be used to run the project.
Look, he could probably chat with this homie forever, but he's not gonna tell the truth. I mean, he's gonna keep on bending every question this guy asks him because he's trying to save his ass, of course, Haley's ass, and try to make the team look like they didn't do anything wrong, and they're trying to be transparent and honest. But look, there's more to the story. They're fucking bending the truth and hiding it, and they don't want to be honest about it, and it's gonna be a big fuck up. Watch.
Guys, it was $4 million. You think it takes $4 million to run a meme coin? Or like 3.9 million? Sorry, it's like 3.9, I think. How are you getting that 50% only applies to 10% of the tokens? I'm baffled. You think they need $3 million to run a meme coin? 3 plus, 3.9 roughly. The dev team, by their own admission, said they had 4 guys. 4 guys do not need to split $4 million 4 ways, right? And so then they just kind of start doing this weird dance, and it got me like realizing like, yeah, they're just trying to get out of it. Like, if you think for a second they would have said, oh, we only want the 10% if this project succeeded, you're mistaken. They would have asked for the millions of dollars. Now they're saying it because that money's getting them in trouble, right? There's a lawsuit about that money. So they're saying, oh, we weren't entitled to that. No, that's not us. Christian Baker said, we didn't even know the amount of money raised from the pre-sale until launch. I say, yes, but you're entitled to that per the literal contract. Also, we were told Meteora was on a de-escalation schedule from 15% down to 1%, and that would happen one after launch. Obviously, that didn't happen. And he said, my understanding is that a large tranche of the pre-sale money was put in the LP. We didn't have the access to the dev. We don't know what wallets. We were also told pre-sale tokens would be on a 1-month lock, 1-year vest. That didn't happen either. And once again, this is where I have to play some of my cards. Because like I said, I've been investigating this. I'm being told, oh, we weren't going to make any money. And I'm just trying to say, like, you guys aren't the victims. I hope you guys are understanding that this is kind of my feeling in all this. They're trying to be like, oh, we barely made a dime. And that's just not true. Like, that's not what they stood to make. I said, what do you mean? You told me I could disregard what Doc said. Remember, he said, oh, you can disregard it. But y'all literally had a contract for 50% of net proceeds. Doc himself said the project was going to cost a few $100,000. If that's the case, pre-sale $2.8 million, fees $1 million, made almost $4 million. Y'all are contractually owed like $1.6 million. And then I shared another insider text I have from Doc Hollywood, where he says, what we can do is put a hard number to the side for the project as cost. Like, we spent a few $100,000 on the project already. That money will be paid back to us off top. Then the profit is paid out. If a few $100,000 is what it costs and the profit's paid out, who's the profit entitled to? Hawk Tuah girl. That's who it is. And we're all being gaslit about like, oh, I'm the victim. I stood to make no money. Wrong. You wanted to make no money after you realized the money is like being scrutinized and being sued over and possibly being looked into by law enforcement. Like, we don't know. So this literally drives me crazy. And then he goes, where is this from, if you don't mind me asking? I say, well, it's an insider chat, allegedly between Doc and the team members. And then he says, You're right that as it stands, she may be entitled to whatever amounts. However, she was supposed to have mutual approval on tokenomics. Her not being given the opportunity to approve the transaction fees, SAFs, and pre-sale identities led to the end result. So literally, he's admitting that he's been not telling the truth about how much money they stood to make. You're right. She may be entitled to millions of dollars from a scam. Like, what? I can't believe they said this. It's insane. So that was a huge revelation. We finally got that out of them. They've been saying this whole time. They even said it during the pod. This guy kind of did this whole thing of like the back end. Oh, the back end, it's only like 50% of 10% locked up for a year. And when the managers take their cut, it's like this tiny amount of money.
Back end, there was a 10% allocation of the token that would be on a 1-year lock and then a 3-year drip after that. Of that 10%, half of that was supposed to go to the company that created the project and half was to go to her. So out of 100% of the token, she would have had 5% at the end. Obviously, she has lawyer, manager, business manager, so even that 5% would have been cut down by over a quarter.
I just found this unbelievable. They're playing the victim. And that's kind of my problem with this whole thing. Look, I can believe a lot of plausible stories here. Now, I really don't believe anything they tell me at this point, but I could be convinced that this might be the case. Maybe it's the case that Hawk Tuah's team was under the impression that all these pre-sale investors were locked up for a month, right? That's what they told me. Again, I don't believe them necessarily, but it's plausible, right? I asked him, when did you learn that the insiders had 0 lockups? He says, when they started dumping. I was told all along the SAFs had a 1-month lock, 1-year linear vest thereafter. I can tell you what I think happened, but I don't have any way of proving it without seeing the SAFs. I have the SAFs, so I can tell you what happened. The pitch deck did say it was a 1-month lockup, okay? And then you get the SAFs, the actual token agreements with like the real investors. No lockup. That's how it all kind of went down, fellas. They lied and they deceived people with fake investment lockups. Like they gave a pitch deck that was not really what the pitch deck ultimately turned out to be. Whether that was a last minute change, whether there's some great way to explain it, I don't think there is. But look, you can believe that, right? But Haley Welch's team this whole time has been acting like so unbelievably dishonest in how they're framing all this to try to make her look like as sympathetic as possible instead of admitting, like, actually, we did have some complicity in this. Maybe we should have asked more questions. We did stand to make way more money than we've let on in a lot of these interviews and with journalists, and we haven't been exactly forthcoming about that. So it makes it hard to be charitable, which kind of they're wanting you to be if we can't see these contracts, if we don't know what they knew, right, at the time when all this stuff happened. And it clearly was a scam because the pitch deck said one thing. They said it was a lockup. The SAFs said it wasn't a lockup. But it's hard to be charitable, right, when this is kind of the way they're interfacing, even with the FaZe Banks crew, who wanted to be charitable to her pretty explicitly. Like, they were like, look, even when they talked about me, they're like, hey, it's not going to be that bad. We're not going to be like CoffeeZilla.
Yeah, scary guy. Let me tell you, don't ever want to have a conversation with him.
We're a little bit more charitable than Coffee. I think Coffee kind of has a little bit of disdain for crypto in general. Us, on the other hand, we live and breathe it every day. We want to see crypto succeed.
Even those guys who admit that they have like a bias towards being charitable, right? Maybe I have a bias for being scary. But even they don't want anything to do with her team because her team is leaking stuff, messing up, like all this stuff with supposed.
And they keep fucking themselves over. I'm like I said before, they just keep on digging and digging a deeper and deeper hole. And even FaZe Bank, I mean, he even knows it. I mean, their fucking team is a bunch of Ponzi scheme. You know, Hawk Tuah, Hawk trash. She's trash. You know, and it's this homie. You know, he basically has the facts. You know, he's telling the truth, and they don't like it one bit. And it's a joke. And he, you know, he was better off not even going on the podcast, and he did the right thing, you know, because he was right at the end of the day.
Insider trading, again, their team denies it. I got to be clear about that. But clearly somebody was trading on the information, which they shouldn't have, and then leaking the episode as an accident. So, yeah, I just wanted to cover this story, just explain how bad faith they've sort of been throughout this, some of the revelations we've learned since then, and also admit there's plenty we don't know that I hope will be revealed in this lawsuit, which is happening about this coin, fighting for this money, that clearly Haley Welch's team is like, oh, we don't want that anymore. We just want to, we want to say we're not entitled to any of that. And so I do hope in that lawsuit things actually come out and victims get their money back. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this story now that the hawk truth is floating around on the interwebs. I wanted people to get a more clear, holistic picture of what actually happened, both on the screen and behind the scenes. Okay, see ya.
Hey man, that was a good video. I mean, I agree with him 100%. Yeah, like I said before, that team, they're fucked. They know they're fucked, and her image is pretty much fucking toast, and you can't hide from it. She's screwed herself over, and the fame that she's had. There's probably going to be more information that's going to be coming out later on in the couple weeks, maybe in a month or so. But I have to say, this guy, excellent video. I would definitely sub to this guy. He makes some really good quality videos, and yeah, don't forget to sub, comment, follow X, follow the stream. I'll try to stream best as I can, and yeah, this was a very good reaction. I'll try to get another video up in the next couple of days, see what other videos are floating around that we can give our opinions. So